What's going on, guys? Andrew Piluk here. The video is going to start in a second. Just wanted to let you guys know that this is a segment from my brand new podcast with Downtown Stephen Brown. All the links will be down below so you guys can listen to it. I'll put it as the pinned comment. Make sure to go and check it out. I believe it's only on Podbean right now, but it's going to be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, basically everywhere that you can get your podcasts. I think Google Play, all that stuff. So make sure to go and check out the full episode, the first one, down below. And there'll be clips posted on here of the podcast of certain discussions, and then you guys can listen to the full thing whenever you want down below. So make sure to go and subscribe to it, rate the podcast, whatever, whenever you can on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all those places. We'd really appreciate it. Enjoy the clip.
So that gets us into a different topic. And I have a friend who's a data tracker for an OHL team, who's a referee in the NYHL. And sometimes I show him some tweets on Twitter and whatnot, and he tells me, Steve, take a step back and get off Twitter. Don't stay in that bubble, because a lot of people use it as an echo chamber. And that's not a true consensus of what everyone else thinks, and you're limiting yourself.
Yeah.
With it. Now, a lot of people on Leafs Twitter specifically really want Mike Babcock fired. And I mean, I guess I'm just gonna come right out and say it. I guess I'm one of them.
So am
Darren Dreger. I know that all people on Leafs Twitter also don't like Darren Dreger, but Darren Dreger offering up this bit of information for us on TSN 1050 earlier today. I don't feel like the Toronto Maple Leafs are anywhere close to firing Mike Babcock right now. Anyway. Now, I mean, Darren Dreger might be wrong and they might fire him tomorrow, so who knows? But it's fair to have both conversations here.
Yeah.
Is it not?
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, listen, and this is where people get really frustrated when, sometimes they'll say that they should fire Babcock, and people are like, look at his track record, look at this, look at what he did all these years ago. And it's like, you don't use that when you're talking about a player, so why would you use it when you're talking about a coach? It's like, okay, this guy scored 45 goals 6 years ago. Well, I guess we can't get rid of him now because he might do it again 6 years later. It's like, no, Mike Babcock won a cup a very long time ago. His systems worked a very long time ago. The way he structured his teams worked a very long time ago. And do not get me wrong here. He was a very, very instrumental part of how this team has rebranded itself, how he's taught players, and as much as it seems like some cheesy thing, he has taught these players to become good pros. He really has. And you need that. You need a guy to come in and change the culture. The problem is that while everybody was changing, he decided, oh, okay, now I've done my job and I'm going to stick to my systems that I used years and years ago, and it's not working. You need to bring in a guy that is modern. He's going to change and develop with the team. And people are like, oh, you can't do that. It'll never work. Well, it actually will work if they do change up the coaching, because there's things that are plain as day that he isn't doing, and he should be. We've mentioned them on this podcast already. How Zach Hyman was brought back into the lineup and literally got to play as much minutes as Babcock wanted him to play. And when a guy like Dermott comes back, he eases him into the lineup and he's still not playing top 4 minutes. So there's a bunch of things that Babcock does wrong. There's a bunch of things that he has done well, and he probably will still do good things. Like, he's not the worst coach in the league. But listen, there's got to be a change, and the person Mike Babcock is a good guy. Like, you see all the stuff he does for mental health. He really cares about his players. That's one thing you have to give him. And let's not talk about him, his character. We're not, we don't talk about people's characters here on this podcast. And we're just gonna say Mike Babcock is a good person, and that I'm gonna leave it at that. He's just not fit for what the Leafs are doing right now, and that's the sad truth.
So, I mean, Mike Babcock 4.5 years ago promised that there would be pain. And since then, in the 4.5 years that he's been head coach, our expectations of this team have changed. Some maybe say that those expectations are way too high and we're not leaving enough room for them to be realistic. But right now, the expectations to just make the playoffs is not good enough
Yeah, it's
anymore.
not.
Remember the days when we were just praying, just squeak in, come on, just Wade Dublovich with the poke check on the last day of the season
Oh, stop,
against the New
man.
Jersey Devils because they
Stop.
rested Martin Brodeur and we didn't get in, and then Sundin left, and it was catastrophic. It was tragic. It was it was really hard to watch, and now our expectations of this team and the culture around it are completely different. So I applaud Mike Babcock for getting us this far,
It's true.
and he did wonders with Morgan Riley. He's come a long way, and he's really become that electric offensive defenseman, even though he struggled so far this season. He worked wonders with Nazem Kadri when he was here. He gave
100%.
he gave him purpose, and Kadri delivered on it. Um, and the team has been fun to watch at some points. Now, now that we've given Babcock the credit that he deserves, let's start being a little bit, I guess, less optimistic.
Let's
Um,
start talking about the truth.